Got a submission here from FabioPE, flying Betaflight 2.2.0. Um, you say that, first of all, you're flying 3S, so that's worth remembering. So we can expect that your P gains are going to be higher than normal. I did look at your config before I started doing any analysis. I saw that your P gain was 8.0 on pitch and 8.0 on roll, and thought, wow, that's super high. 8.0 on pitch, I could see that on 4S. I mean, I'm at 6.0, so I mean, 8.0 is not inconceivable. But it is surprising that your pitch and your roll are identical. We would not normally expect that. It's an Emax Nighthawk 250. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's just a standard H-frame. Yeah, if you were flying some kind of very, very symmetrical X-frame, then we might expect that your pitch and your roll P gains would be the same. But since you are flying a frame that is more spread out front to back than it is side to side, we would expect that your pitch P is going to be higher than your roll P because you have more centralized mass on roll. Therefore, you need less force to move on the roll axis than the pitch axis. So the fact that they're the same is immediately suspicious. I would not normally expect that. However, hang on. You do have a custom motor mix, and that does help compensate for that somewhat. Okay, so that's neither here nor there, just talking about it. But I do see that your roll, oh, sorry, got a little click happy there. Your roll D is 55 and your pitch D is 55. And that is, once upon a time, there was a guideline I used for rewrite, for the rewrite PID controller, that 10 times your P gain was a good place to be. That rule no longer holds true, and especially on Betaflight 2.2.0, which you are flying, and the way it handles the D term, this is very, very likely to be way too high. You should always tune, and go to my tuning thread if you haven't already, because it'll definitely save you a lot of time and a lot of effort. You should always tune P with your D gain down low, and frankly your I gain down low as well, although your I of 30, of 3.0, or 0.030 rather, that's not high enough to be causing a problem with tuning P. But definitely, I would set this down. And for all I know, this is the default, and you didn't do this on purpose. But yeah, I would definitely have this down around 10, for example. And then I would focus on tuning my P so they were as close to right as I could get them before then I started bringing D up. Okay, fine. Now you do say that you get high frequency fluctuations of D. If you try to reduce D, the quad oscillates too much after a quick command. That's probably because your P is way too high. That's just my first guess. So turning your P gains way too high and then trying to fix that with too much D gain is like I don't know. I got way too much hot sauce on my food, so I'm gonna try and like drink a lot of milk while I eat it. Well, your mouth is still burning, right? I don't know. I tried to make that analogy up. It wasn't perfect. You can't fix too much of one thing with too much of another thing. Then you just got too much of two things and everything is bad. So you got to back off and get your P gains right. So, first thing I do is I look at your gyros, just to look at your noise level. And honestly, I am really surprised that they look as good as they do, given how crazy your D term is going. They look really clean and noise-free. Very clean and noise-free. Very thin lines, almost pencil-thin lines. Very clean, very little vibration. Whatever's going on with your vibration system, it's working good. We don't have any super high throttle moves here, so we don't know what would happen if we were getting up into the 1800s. They would thick up a little, but they would only thick up so much, so you have a reasonably noise-free copter. As I said in my previous video to somebody else tonight, you're running gyro LPF equals 188, and with the amount of noise that I'm seeing on your copter, you certainly could consider running gyro LPF equals gyro LPF off, basically. You'll get a little more noise and probably a little sharper locked-in feel. But don't do that yet because you haven't got your tune close enough to perfect to start tweaking around with that yet, I don't think. Or if you bring your D gains way down, then you can go ahead and do it. But right now, adding any noise to the system, the D gains are so high, they're amplifying the noise, And adding any more noise to the system with your D gain as high as is definitely going to make things worse rather than better. Let's take a look at roll. Yeah. So the magnitude of D is big. It's always bigger than P, usually, almost always. It's always jagged up and down. And what I'm looking at that is telling me I probably have a problem here is that, see right here how the D term is kind of random? It's irregular. But do you see right here, we get into kind of this regular mode where it looks like two sine waves superimposed on each other? That's problematic. That tells me that the D term is not just following the P term, but it's amplifying some other signal. I mean, it's in the P term, of course. The D term is the derivative of P. It can only be affected by the P term. But I'm seeing some other signal come out here, and that's not good. I don't want that. Okay, so your D is definitely too high. Definitely too high. Take D down to 10, and then let's just forget about D for a minute and just try tuning P and see what P is doing. Now, what's P doing? There's not a lot going on in this file, I'm sorry to say. Yeah, not any sort of hard turns. There's some hard turns. Yay! Here's a good hard turn to the left and the right. We definitely see P start to get active here. Jumping around. Boom. Boom. So these are probably, if we also bring up the gyro, these are those wobbles that we definitely would see them in the video. Let's bring up RC command as well while we're at it. So here, you push the stick, RC command goes down. Here the stick is centered again. The gyro is following reasonably well. The gyro is following RC command reasonably well. When the stick is centered, gyro is centered. Again, the stick returns to center. Here we've got a little bit of a bobble there where the gyro turns around and comes back again before the stick is centered. Yeah, your P term is kind of all over the place here. So it's hard to judge too much because there's not a lot of like hard flying in here exactly, high throttle scenarios. But my gut says that your roll P is too high and could maybe come down to 6.0, maybe. But bring your D down first. They shouldn't be the same. Let's see how P is doing. Same thing with D. Bring D down to... You just can't tune very well with D going crazy like this. Way too much. You got to bring it down. And if you bringing D down causes there to be too much oscillation or bounce at the end of moves, then P needs to come down as well. And that's the bottom line here. Let's get D out of there. It's just making a lot of noise. Yeah, I do see this bobbling you're talking about, and it's probably because P is too high. Yeah, so let's do this. Bring your pitch P down to 6.5 and bring your roll P down to 4.0. Bring your pitch and roll D down to 10. Leave your I where they are and see how that flies. And then you fine tune from there. But my hunch is that will fly close to okay based on what I'm seeing here. Looking at the yaw axis, there's just not a lot going on. Your yaw axis appears to be the one axis that does not have radically too high P gain, and your D gain is reasonable too. Your D is maybe even a little low. So just leave that alone though. Don't worry about tuning that just yet. P can probably come up on yaw. It's hard to judge given that you're not doing any crazy moves in here. Okay, hope that's helpful, and happy flying.